Welcome to another episode of Chasing the Wind. I'm Pastor Mark. Let's see what the Holy Spirit might be up to today. So I was on a Zoom prayer meeting, and I'm going to kind of talk, refer to this Zoom prayer meeting a couple times. Not this time, but this time I'll do it, and I'll do it in another video here in a minute. But anyway, there was a discussion, and we were discussing about church and the great falling away and how people have left church. And in many churches, they've figured that about 50% of the people have quit coming since COVID, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to belabor that, but we were talking about some other stuff, and there was a video I watched this week that I believe the Lord gave me, and this person was challenging the church, said, quit being worrying about social justice, quit worrying about saving the environment, and care about souls, which is what the church is supposed to do. That is our lane. As Tracy Strawberry would say, our lane, get in your lane. The church's lane is to care about souls. Now, you could argue, well, that's what social justice is about. That's what okay, I get that. But we have quit taking care of people and caring about people and caring about issues sometimes instead. With the guys that, ultimately I'm caring about people. Well, caring about people means you care about people and you deal with them not in a general sense, but in a specific sense. So anyway, it was interesting as I was on this, and I discovered that I was the oldest person on the call, which was very humbling. And I'm on there, and there was something that was said. I don't remember what it was, but then the Lord speaks to me through movie images. And I don't watch gory movies. I know it's right around Halloween. I don't watch. The only movie that was scary that I ever watched that proved to be beneficial to me was Friday the 13th. And that's because my brother and I would terrorize my sister with it, because we had to walk through her room to get to our room. And then as soon as she turned her light off, we would run over to the door, and one of us, it was like a race to see who could get there first. And we would just say, so my sister could hear it, we would go, Jay, 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 Jay. And she'd scream. And it was great crack for my brother and me, as they say in Ireland, great crack for us to torment my sister. Of course, I also used to lay there in bed, and I'd have the covers all nice, and I'd lay there like this with my hands on my stomach, and my sister would come in to say goodnight, and I wouldn't answer, and I wouldn't answer, and Mark, she'd freaking out, and yes, I have an ornery streak to me that if I was French, my mom would have probably named me Henri, and then just called me ornery for short. But anyway, so I digress though. I'm on this call and something was said, but God speaks to me through movies. And so one of my favorite movies is Seabiscuit. Good quotes in that movie. But I'm sitting there listening, and there's these church planters, I believe it was church planters on the call, and they were talking about some stuff, and it sparked this thought. I remember when Seabiscuit went to his trainer. He's bought, and he went to his trainer, and his trainer was having trouble. He just couldn't get Seabiscuit to run straight and the whole 9 yards. And he said to the owner, he said, it's like he forgot how to be a horse. And so there's a wonderful scene. I think it's the best scene in the whole movie myself, when they go to Saratoga Springs. It's a beautiful fall day, and they're not on a racetrack, but they're on like these walking trails or something or whatever, and exercise trails that you can take the horse. His Red Pollard is his jockey, and he's up on him, played by Tobey Maguire, and he says, how far do you want me to take him? And he said, the trainer says, until he stops. He swats him on the hind end. The horse takes off running. He's kind of having a little trouble, but then all of a sudden he finds his stride, and he's just moving along really good. And Red Pollard says, "Let's see what you got." And he gives him a cluck, and pew! He just goes into a whole nother gear, and he takes off, and it's the ride of his life, so to speak. It sparked a question that I asked this very small group. It was about 7 of us on there, including my district superintendent and her husband. I shared that scene from the movie, and I asked a question. I said, has the church forgotten how to be the church? Just as Seabiscuit had forgotten how to be a horse, specifically a racehorse, has the church forgotten how to be the church? I started pastoring in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s, when the church growth movement was starting. And they were moving away from pastors being... So here's another question I pitched was, have pastors forgotten how to be pastors? Because during that church growth movement, it was all about becoming ranchers instead of shepherds. Eugene Stowe was a former general superintendent in the Church of the Nazarene, wrote a book called The Ministry of Shepherding. And it's interesting because I've pondered the office of district superintendent in the Church of the Nazarene as well as the office of pastor. And sometimes we are so overwhelmed with administrative stuff and putting out fires that sometimes we don't get to be pastors. Part of the DS's job is to become a pastor of the pastors. But everything has become so administrative, and we're so concerned about growing our churches instead of caring about souls and helping people move along spiritually, becoming who, as I said in my last video, that helping Christ to become fully developed in them, and that is our job. We could argue and probably talk about our ecclesiology here. What is the church? What is their job? And it's a great conversation. I love those conversations. Ultimately, the ecclesiology, that would be comes from the word ecclesia, the gathering of the called out ones. But what are we called to? What is our job? Is it to grow our bank accounts and our numbers? Is it just to fill our churches with people? And they matter. Don't get me wrong. Numbers matter because numbers are people and people matter. So that I'm not denying that. But do we even know what it means to be the church anymore? Has the church forgotten how to be the church? And if you're a pastor watching today, have you forgotten how to be a pastor? And then let me go one step further. Follower of Jesus, non-vocational ministry person who is following Christ. Have you forgotten how to be a believer? Wow, those are some good questions to think about. Heard Alistair Begg say this the other day in his Scottish brogue that I will not try to imitate. He said, so it's something to think about. So think about it. So I'm going to leave it right there, Wind Chasers. I'm going to let you think about your church, the church, and pastor, if you're a pastor, think about, have I forgotten how to pastor? Has my church forgotten what it means to be the church? I'll let you think about that, ponder it. Matter of fact, if you want, leave some comments. And for the rest of us to kind of think about and chew on as well. So until next time, Wind Chasers, keep chasing the wind because the wind is chasing you. Grace and peace.